Hey, with Eldora Chess, and today I'm going to show my only classical game against Magnus Carlsen. We played one time in Switzerland at an open tournament. It was rated. I'm a GM and he's number one of the world. So let's start. So I went for the English opening because I wanted something very flexible because I know he's number one of the world. So he knows all the lines in the Sicilians and Rui Lopez's. So I wanted something to be more flexible. So he went for like a King's Indian setup. So I just developed, he developed, and I went for like a typical Queen's Gambit declined versus modern or King English variation. And here he played like a little beef eater variation or very beef eater-esque strike in the center. And I didn't want to ruin my pawn structure. I just wanted to take space because I know he's a positional player and I wanted to cramp Magnus Carlsen. So I pushed my pawn. He makes a natural looking move, d6, just solidifying his center, and he has possible counter attacking chances. I just developed, normal developing, just taking space, typical stuff you do against the King's Indian defense or against a modern. He castled, I developed. I wanted to have my bishop here, so I want to go for an attack and bring my knights to the side. He obviously wanted to have counterplay. He wanted to stop counterplay on the queen side, but I didn't care. I just went for it because I'm not the guy who plays on one side of the board. I play on both sides of the boards. And here it's equal, but I think it's harder for black because black has to respond to I'm holding the cards. And then he played this. I think this was the first mistake of Magnus Carlsen. I think it's too slow. He has to do something in the center. I think it's kind of too slow because he has to do something more explosive. Now I'm semi-pinning his knight, and here I think he makes another mistake. He weakens his king side with h6. I think it's a good move for h6 in most positions, but in this position, you open both sides. I'm the one with space. You should maybe put more pressure on my center instead of just going after my bishop. So I just went back because if I go here, I lose my initiative. And here, I think he made a terrible mistake. He probably watched too many AlphaZero and Stockfish games, and he went for g5. Of course, I'm not going to take. Because that will probably lead to a draw, or that I don't like to give up two pieces for a pawn. No, one piece for two pawns, because I don't believe in a mating idea with only one bishop and one queen. Because everything is stuck behind these pawns here, so I don't really have an attack at the moment. So I just played the natural looking move, this, and I think his position is already worse. Maybe a computer doesn't say so, but my plan is so easy. I'm not going to castle. I'm just going to explode the king side and just checkmate him. That's my idea. So here, of course, he wants to have the bishop pair. And now I had a move. I could have taken the pawn and then taken the knight and then up a pawn. But knowing Magnus Carlsen, he would probably draw the game. Because it's up a pawn, but he has such good endgame. I didn't want to go into an endgame with Magnus Carlsen because he's one of the best endgame players ever. So instead of going for this endgame, I went for a move I think he didn't saw. He probably thought takes or castle or bringing the rook to b1 to push the pawn, doing something in the center. But I think I made a move that upset him. And when I played this move, I saw on the board he wasn't happy. Because he didn't saw this move. And I think it's a very how do you say, not intuitive move. I played the move King F1, inspired by I saw Fabio and Ding Liren do it a lot of times. They just move their king, and now the trouble starts from Magnus Carlsen. I saw he was panicking I saw in his face that he was panicking. So now I have the initiative and I'm better because all his pieces are on the back rank, and I'm just gonna explode. And he opened up his own defenses. So this is so easy for me to play. Okay, he wants to he wants to open lines for his rook and let his piece, but it's too late. I'm just taking. Of course, he's going to take with the bishop, not with the rook, or he loses exchange. But here comes two attackers on the piece, so he has to take. Now he takes because he didn't want me to have this strong grip on the center, and his knight is not doing anything. But while doing so, he opens up my rook. So now there's a lot of white square weaknesses in his camp. His rook on a8 is not doing anything. His knight is too far from action. His pawn on e7 is stopping his queen. His positioning lost. And I'm also a positional player, and when I played Magnus Carlsen, I played the best game of my life against a positional player. Like everyone while we were playing this game, everyone was looking at us. So he pushed the pawn, but this is also a mistake. And now you have to find one of the move that I made, and it's one of the best moves it's the best move I ever made in my life. So of course, most people would retreat or go here, but I calculated this specific line where I just give up the knight for an attack, Naroditsky style. And here he's totally busted. I'm threatening to go here. I'm threatening to checkmate him. So he has to take. But now my queen comes into play, and yeah, it's just horrible because I'm going to get my knight here. He tries to exchange, but here, and I'm threatening a checkmate because here all the squares are taken, and I'm threatening a checkmate on g5, and here he lost some time. There's nothing he can do. The engine says this, but just so the king has an escape square. But look at this position. Material is equal, but it's better for me. But his pieces are all on the back rank, and I'm just coming with my pieces. I'm just going to attacking. I'm just winning at this position. Even in an endgame, I would win this against Magnus Carlsen. So that was my game, my only classical game against Magnus Carlsen in Switzerland, the classical tournament. And I'm together with Esipenko and Nepomniachtchi. We are one of the few players that have a positive score against Magnus Carlsen.